My god, a hat in time. I only found out about this game just last year when I saw someone play the beta build, and being intrigued I looked into it further. I found it, like Yooka-Laylee, to be a Kickstarter game with the hope of revitalising the genre of the 3D platformer, in the vein of games from the N64 and PlayStation era. Despite not having the same high budget or the same pedigree of talent behind it as Yooka-Laylee, I still thought it looked pretty good. But unfortunately I had to pass on it since it was only scheduled to release on PC and I'm just not a PC gaming person. But lo and behold, then came the announcement of the game being released on consoles, and then I got excited again. But little did I know the lasting effect this game would have on me. The story follows a little girl called Hat Kid who is flying home in a spaceship, only to be disturbed by a member of the Mafia on the planet below. He demands her to pay a toll and forces his way in by breaking the window, causing these things called timepieces that fuel Hat Kid's spaceship to be sucked away and scattered across the planet below. And now as Hat Kid we must go through 4 worlds, platforming, collecting, puzzle solving and meeting brilliant characters to retrieve the timepieces. It's hard of me to think where I should even begin with this game. From the get-go it has such a charm in it with its cel-shaded graphics, colourful environments, hilarious dialogue and awesome music. You access levels from Hat Kid's spaceship and in a very Mario Sunshine-esque approach you explore the worlds or chapters in acts, meaning that while you're returning to the same world you have visited and explored before, the objective and some elements of the environment have changed. And being a 3D platformer, there are of course collectibles. Aside from the main collectible of timepieces, the levels are littered with more collectibles such as these little green orbs called ponds that act as your currency, as well as balls of yarn that can be crafted into hats to give Hat Kid new abilities, as do badges that can be bought from this glitchy badge seller or earned via progression and equipped to your hat to give a boost on some of your moves. And this brings me on to one of my favourite things about the game, the controls. Hat Kid controls wonderfully. The controls are very responsive and feel just right and make moving around the levels a joy. They are so satisfyingly zippy and fluent, and you can wall jump, double jump and dive jump to quickly perform and chain moves together. And it just feels so right, despite 1 or 2 moments where Hat Kid would lock onto a wall jump and some walls that got her stuck. And the controls work so perfectly in tangent with the level design. I personally loved each and every world in this game, and each one is so unique in its setup and design. The first world, Mafia Town, is very layered and close together, making getting around very easy and quick. While the second world, Deadbird Studios, has separate environments that are more focused and linear but are still unique. The third world, the Subcon Forest, is a more open plain, and yes, while at first it may seem too big and overwhelming, it is split up into sections that are locked behind an easy yet optional challenge that allows you to tackle it in a more manageable way. The fourth and final world is a huge valley in the mountains that really plays around with size and scope, with each mountain design being based around a certain gameplay mechanic or platforming challenge. It makes each world feel so unique and different from a gameplay standpoint, and it's only supported better by the graphics and music. The graphics are cel-shaded and wonderfully cartoony and make great use of colour, lighting and textures to further set each world apart. From these bright popping colours in Mafia Town to this gloomy and warped look of the Subcon Forest, it allows for a consistent art style while allowing each world to remain stand out from each other. And yes, while it is a tad bit rough around the edges, I can excuse that due to the low budget of the game. And then the music. Man, the music. I've never heard of Pascal Michael Stifle before, but after this I'd love to hear his work in anything else he's done because he has knocked it out the park with this. Each track is a perfect fit for the situation and ranges from fast heavy rock themes for boss battles to slow and calming and very atmospheric pieces. And of course the game has also had some wonderful tracks from a bunch of guest composers including Grant Kirkhope. Above all this mastery, the main thing that made me fall in love with A Hat in Time was its charm and creativity. Every level, design, character and piece of writing is memorable and enjoyable with a brilliant sense of humour, and it can get hilariously dark at times, but it keeps it at a good level and manages to make this game irresistibly adorable. I never thought narrative would be a thing that I would praise in a 3D platformer, but man, I loved it here, despite the fact that it is quite simple. Each world has its own subplot and distinct characters. In Mafia Town we're roped into helping a girl with a mustache in a plot to take down the Mafia. In the second world we're thrown into a battle between 2 bird directors. An owl obsessed with old train movies and a penguin who loves glamorous space films, and they're competing for a movie award. And you end up acting in both films, and whichever one you score the most points in is the bird who wins in the end, and even this result has a little twist that I didn't see coming. And then the Subcon Forest has you signing your soul away and completing tasks for this devilish ghost creature called the Snatcher. It's all just so much fun to experience, and this creativity comes out in the levels as well. There are some really unique levels in here. As well as the standard collectathon and exploration type levels, there's a survival horror type level which can get really intense at times, and a brilliant level called Murder on the Owl Express, where we have to use stealth and platforming to figure out probably the stupidest and funniest murder mystery I've ever seen. I mean, this level alone can explain why this game is such a masterpiece to me. Even the boss fights are brilliant and are surprisingly challenging with epic themes to them to add the tension. There are also these levels called time risks, which are levels sheerly based around simple platforming and reaching an objective, but are still unique to each world that you find them in. I mean, I could go on forever about how much I love this game, but obviously I can't. I was just so blown away by this game, going into it with only mild expectations, only to find something that truly engaged me in its gameplay, story, charm, and inventiveness. It just blew my mind. Everything about this game sums up why I love 3D platforms and why it's the genre that got me into gaming in the first place. A game with brilliant gameplay that oozes with charm and personality. It's just fantastic. In a year that has brought back the 3D platformer genre wonderfully, I was expecting Yooka-Laylee was going to be the game that rekindled my love in a new generation of gaming. It turns out that in fact it was something else that I was not expecting at all. And after an experience that had me from beginning to end, all the way through and enjoying every second of it, I can say that A Hat in Time might just very well be my brand new favourite game of all time. And it gets the most solid 10 out of 10 I have ever given. I have really high hopes for Gears for Breakfast and hope that they go on to do much better things, and I'm eagerly awaiting to see what they'll be working on next. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time.